want to acknowledge some people are together for survival. It's cheaper to keep her, it's cheaper to keep him. We have kids, we're emotionally dependent on each other. Some people can't stand each other, but they're gonna stay. Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Alec Nance, this is Conscious Connect, and today we're gonna be speaking about how do you not argue in a relationship. I have about 5 principles that will help you and your partner tremendously not argue, have more of a loving bond, ultimately understand each other, and stop with the arguing. So first and foremost, knowing your partner deeply. Do you find yourself arguing a lot? Are these small things? Are they big things? Knowing your partner deeply is, if you're going to be with somebody for the long term, you have to understand their trauma, their childhood, all the things that make them tick. If the arguments are like, you need to listen to them deeply and ask questions like, why does this upset you so much? There's usually some type of underlying factor, often with some type of a lot of things lead back to their childhood. Like people who feel emotionally abandoned or were emotionally abandoned or anything of that nature, their the argument might be about something totally different than what you're speaking about, totally different than the topic. It's important to look beyond the surface and kind of really meditate on these things afterwards. And just also, whenever you're not arguing, you need to be asking them questions, bonding, really trying to get to know them better. We may think we know our partners, but if you're constantly arguing, you don't know each other well enough. There's no way around it. That's my honest opinion. Keep in mind, you may know this person very well and just need to end things, but that's not the topic of this video. I am going to get to that later on, but this is mainly for the people who want to make things work. And if you don't, I have some great advice for you towards the end. If you are constantly arguing, there's some miscue. You guys aren't, there's some type of disconnect that needs to be discussed. You need to, you guys need to understand each other better and maybe know how not to set each other off. A lot of times we may knowingly or unknowingly gaslight our partners with the things we say, bringing up things they're going to disagree with. It's like the small stuff. I'm not saying you need to walk on eggshells. I'm saying you need to know your partner so that you're able to be considerate of their feelings and kind of do what's right in the moment. So for number 2, it's important that you understand the emotional plea. Whenever somebody brings something up, now there's a way to go about having a disagreement or wanting something more from your partner. It should be asked, can you please do this? It hurts my feelings when you do that. Be honest, be vulnerable, and ultimately, whenever something's being asked of you, you may be feeling a little bit attacked. There's something behind that. Like I always say to couples, if one person thinks something is a problem, it's a problem. It has to be. It's your problem. There's a disagreement. There's something you have to address, something you have to face. You can't really brush things off, especially when it keeps coming up. Take everything your partner says seriously. Acknowledge it. You may not can fix it in the moment, and that's ultimately what starts the argument. A lot of times with people, like, we feel attacked. There's something that they want us to do that we can't do, or it just shocks us in general, and like our first defense is to argue back, to defend ourselves. The ultimate goal is surrendering your relationship, to submit to each other. But so number 2, just reiterating, understanding the emotional plea. What are they really asking you for? It may be respect, it may be some quality time, whatever the case is. Like, kind of dive deep. You may not be able to do this in the heat of the moment, but you kind of got to reflect on these situations and think about this person, the things you've talked about, and what could have led up to this argument. I have a journaling exercise for you guys. If there's an argument that you keep thinking about, there's something that you're holding in, you need to write down the events of that day, what led up to it, what came from it, what was discussed, how it made you feel, and how you think it might have made them feel. There's a lot of shadow work to be done in these relationships. Number 3, always discuss the argument. You guys may argue all the time. You shouldn't be. It is okay. It is possible to be with someone. You might have your disagreements, you might bicker. I know, like me, my love language is kind of getting on my partner's nerves a little bit. I like when they get on my nerves. It's just fun. I shouldn't be taken too seriously. I don't take them too seriously, and I just like kind of jabbing at it, like a little play argument. Like, it's fun sometimes, but if there's like a serious clash between you two, and it's something that is going, like, you got to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? You can't just argue hard one day and then like the next day you go on life as if nothing ever happened. Something is boiling deep down. You're building up your defenses and you're ready to attack them again. You already have a game plan written out for if this happens again, what you wish you would have said, and it's gonna come out. Like, you ever argue with somebody and the things they say to you almost feel rehearsed? Like, they've been thinking about that. You should never be harboring negative emotions. I don't care how bad it was. Let some time go by, cooler heads prevail, and hey, I want to talk about this the other day. It hurt my feelings we spoke to each other that way. It hurt my feelings you talked to me that way. Apologize. You know, I don't want any problems. I don't want no smoke. How do we get this on the right track? I've been thinking about this. What can I do to make this better? How do we meet in the middle? Or if we can't meet in the middle, how do we sit this to the side and just focus on each other? Because ultimately, you don't want to live with your enemy. You don't want to live with somebody who, it's like always this USA versus Russia thing. You know, this pending tension, nothing's really happening, but something can happen. Like, you don't want to be lovers and frenemies, you know what I'm saying? So always be bold, revisit what you were talking about. So number 4, the ultimate goal in any relationship is ultimate complete surrender. This needs to be your safe space. You don't need to be arguing. I can't stress that enough. Everything can be worked out. If there are disagreements, if you guys are at some type of just ironclad disagreements where you have to go your separate ways, do that. Your relationship should be sacred. It should be your safe space. You should be able to be who you are completely, express yourself completely, and not worry about judgment. You should be able to be vulnerable. I'm telling you the goal, but you guys kind of got to find your way there using the previous steps. But if you talk about this with your partner, tell them, hey, I don't want to clash. Like, you may not have the answers right then, but if you two both talk about it and set your intentions together, there's alchemy in that. You are a magician creating your future. Watch the magic happen. If you guys agree that that is the goal, ultimate surrender, it will happen. Or you may leave each other. You never know. We're not always meant to be together, but if you two love each other and that's what you want, there is power in that agreement. When you ask for that ultimate surrender between you and your partners, you have to mean it. And your soul of souls, you have to mean it, or don't say it. Now, keep in mind, I'm about to tell you when it's time to go, but I want to acknowledge some people are together for survival. It's cheaper to keep her. It's cheaper to keep him. We have kids. We're emotionally dependent on each other. Some people can't stand each other, but they're gonna stay, right? It's part of life. What I would recommend to you is find out what's best for you in that situation. You have to learn to live with it, find peace with certain things. You may not always agree. You might not want to be with that person, but if you're going to be with them, there has to be some type of surrender. Finally, I want to say it is important that you know when the lesson is over. You are not with your partner by coincidence, by chance. You two have a soul binding agreement before you even incarnated. You guys were likely incarnated together in past lives as who knows what, parent and child, enemies, teacher and student, who knows, but you two have a soul binding agreement to teach each other lessons, and sometimes the lesson is simply over. You've learned what you need to learn. You're ready to move on and be happy. If you don't think you can be happy with your partner, if you two have grown apart, morphed into different people to the point where you're no longer compatible, think about it. Are you and your partner compatible? If you are not, it is okay to end things. as gracefully as possible. Sit down, have a discussion. It's easier said than done. For some people love to leave. You know, you got some runners out there, but just food for thought. You know, I'm not recommending you take action and get a divorce and do all this other stuff. That's a decision that you make, and it's something you need to think about. I often, and honestly, no, don't go to your partner and say, I'm being messy now. Hey, I think this may not be working. Like, you need to know that it's not working and be ready to make a decision on that. It's often like a one-person decision, and then the two have to agree over time. So something to think about. How about this? If it's causing you unbearable pain and you're suffering and you're getting sick, like negative emotions make us physically sick. You'd be surprised how healthy you could be, mentally, physically. Like, is it taxing you? If that stove is hot, take your hand off of it, and ultimately love each other. I don't know. I want to end on a positive note. I gotta think of something else to say. But honestly, that's it. Maybe that is a positive note. It's okay to know when to leave. Surrender to your partner. Get to know them better. Understand the emotional plea. And if they're acting out of character, give them some grace. If they're spazzing out over something, you know, if it's extremely out of character, and especially if it's like verbal, you know what I'm saying? If they're just talking crazy one day, like, you know, I'm gonna let you have it. Something's up with you. You're probably tired. You know, we'll talk about it later. And they may feel silly afterwards, you know. So love is the ultimate goal. That's all I got for you guys. Peace.